This is Pointe FM's nightly news for Tuesday, the 13th day of February 2018. Nationally, a popular promoter and nightclub owner charged for human trafficking is granted bail. Murder-accused Delano Forbes remain on the run. Police sources say the photo of him is not after he escaped. The Grenadian Prime Minister says no calypso music during the campaign season. And Israeli police say that Prime Minister should be charged over alleged bribery cases. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday edition. Those of you joining us by radio, those via our app, those via Facebook Live and our website pointefmradio.com. I am Phil George. Cheryl Thompson secured bail today when she appeared before a magistrate on 4 counts of human trafficking charges. Thompson, also known as Cheryl Jeanery, was arrested on Saturday evening along with several other persons when police raided her nightclub on Nevis Street. She was questioned before she was charged with 4 counts of human trafficking. In court today, Thompson was granted bail in the sum of $20,000 with a cash component of $5,000 and 2 sureties. She returns to court on April 19th. Several persons who were deemed to be potential victims of human trafficking were also questioned and released at the weekend pending further investigations. Minister responsible for the Secretariat, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Public Safety, the Honorable Stelroy Benjamin, praised the work of the Trafficking in Preventions Committee and commended their efforts as well as the work of the Joint Task Force in its attempt to rid the country of the scourge of human trafficking. Minister Benjamin recently reiterated in Parliament that human trafficking is an abhorrent act that Antigua and Barbuda will not tolerate within its shores. He has also assured the public that the human trafficking laws in this country will be further strengthened to prevent the problem from escalating. Several of the women who were detained last weekend were in violation of the country's immigration laws. More than 24 hours after he escaped custody, police are no closer to apprehending murder-accused Delano Forbes. Forbes escaped around 3 p.m. on Monday and has not been seen since. At the time he dashed to freedom, he was being escorted by detectives to the village of Sweets as the police continue to investigate the 23-year-old for multiple murders. When contacted, Commissioner of Police Wendell Robinson would only say the search continues for Forbes, who is dubbed the Vampire Killer. At the time of his escape, Forbes was handcuffed. A police source has confirmed to Pointe FM's nightly news that a photo making the rounds on social media is that of Delano Forbes. However, it was not taken after the murder-accused escaped. The source revealed that the photo of Forbes wearing a floral 3/4 pants was taken while he was in police custody and may have been leaked by someone within the police force. 23-year-old Forbes is facing charges of murdering Wilfred Bongo Williams, Sean Henry in the Pointe, and Lissu Williams on All Saints Road, and he may also be responsible for several murders in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He's believed to have slit the throats of his victims and may have kept their blood in jars. There are also reports that he drank the blood of some of his victims. The manhunt continues this evening. Convicted murderer Atlee Alexander, who appealed his sentence at the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, has had his petition dismissed. The court, which is currently hearing appeals in Antigua this week, dismissed his appeal when it came up for hearing on Monday. Atlee Alexander has been given a life sentence and may be eligible for release after he has served 42 years in prison with time on remand. He was convicted of murdering Jacqueline Simon in 1997 and also 2 of her daughters by burning the house they occupied. Simon, who once shared an abusive relationship with Alexander, was also pregnant when she was burnt to death. Attlee was sentenced to death in 2000 but was granted a stay of execution by the London-based Privy Council, who deemed his sentence unconstitutional. He was subsequently resentenced to life by High Court Justice Darshan Ramdhani. He moved to the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal to challenge his sentencing, but yesterday the justices denied his appeal. He returned to Her Majesty's prison to continue serving his time. Prime Minister Gaston Brown recently hosted a courtesy visit from the top management of Shell United States Trading Company. Also in attendance at the meeting was the CEO of the West Indies Oil Company Limited, Gregory Georges, Chief Operations Officer Sharon Thomas, and Chief Financial Officer Carton Bramble. The visit came on the heels of a meeting with the Antigua and Barbuda Port Authority, which discussed the operations thus far and the port modernization project, which was recently unveiled. During the meeting, the Shell officials briefed the Prime Minister on the progress of the bunkering of cruise ship operations in Antigua, now in its second year. The business is said to have grown significantly, and Shell and West Indies Oil Company are exploring options to facilitate future growth and improve coordination among the various stakeholders. Both WEOC and Shell representatives conveyed the message that Antigua must position itself as a bunkering hub in the region, offering a range of services superior to regional competitors. According to Gregory Georges, CEO of West Indies Oil Company, WEOC has plans to make additional investments in the sea trade infrastructure, which will ensure an enhanced delivery of superior services to their cruise ship customers. During the meeting, the Prime Minister congratulated WEOC for their success during the last month. It was announced that for the month of January, WEOC Antigua and Barbuda provided 210,000 barrels of fuel to cruise ships. The Prime Minister indicated to the visiting multinational company that his government views the bunkering business as a strategic pillar in its plans to transform the St. John's Port to become a key economic driver for the country. The planned infrastructure enhancements will contribute to the diversification of the energy portfolio and improve resiliency to disruptions caused by natural disasters. Prime Minister Brown stated that his government is ready to partner in the required investments with Shell and WEOC via the National Assets Management Agency NAMCO for the obvious benefits it can yield for the national economy. Additionally, discussions focused on how further efficiencies could be driven in the bunkering business to enhance the quality of service being offered to the cruise sector, and in particular, modernizing the current operations. Government House has issued a warning to persons at home and abroad not to acknowledge requests for financial contributions in the name of the Governor-General, Sir Rodney Williams. In a statement today, the Office of the Governor-General outlined it has received a number of reports from residents of Antigua and Barbuda who have been defrauded of hundreds of US dollars by a person or persons purporting to be Rodney Williams or the Governor-General of Antigua and Barbuda on Facebook Messenger and Instagram. The fake Facebook site features at least one photo of the Governor-General and his wife, Lady Sandra Williams, according to the statement. Regrettably, requests for the anticipated benefits from the monies required to be sent by unsuspecting persons to the perpetrators are unlikely to be honored. Government House says persons should refrain from sending money to anyone purporting to be the Governor-General unless such requests are confirmed by the Office of the Governor-General. Since the passage of the destructive hurricanes in September last year, Government House says it has received a significant number of reports from individuals that they have received messages via social media channels including Instagram and Messenger Facebook, which are inconsistent with the work of the Office of the Governor-General. The messages include offers to provide grant funding on behalf of the government and/or the United Nations. The Office of the Governor-General is advising that the social media sites are not authorized. The valid Facebook page for the Governor-General is Governor-General Antigua and Barbuda. That's a look at national developments this evening. Stay tuned. We have more news to come from the region and internationally. Thank you so much for staying with us this Tuesday evening for Point FM's Nightly News. If you're just joining us, a popular promoter and nightclub owner charged for human trafficking is granted bail in the magistrate's court today. And murder-accused Delano Forbes remains on the run. Police sources say the photo of him on social media is not after he escaped. Turning now to developments from across the region, the ruling New National Party in Grenada says it will not use calypso music during the campaign leading up to the March 13 general elections because of the Christian Lenten season that begins on Wednesday next week. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, who is leading the NNP into the election, told a rally Sunday that the party, which is seeking to regain all 15 seats in the election, had agreed to change its format for the campaign. Lent is a solemn religious observance in the Christian liturgical calendar that begins on Ash Wednesday and ends approximately 6 weeks later before Easter Sunday. NNP campaign manager Roland Bola said the ban would not cover all calypso songs, but those considered to be offensive and promoting unacceptable behavior during the Lenten season. The main opposition, National Democratic Congress, has not yet indicated whether or not it will follow the strategy as outlined by the NNP. Earlier this month, the NDC called on the ruling party to sign a joint bribery pledge in which both parties will refrain from bribing the electorate ahead of the election. In addition to that commitment, the pledge calls on the police to open a hotline for allegations of voter bribery to be reported and calls on the NNP government to instruct the police to vigorously investigate reports of bribery, the opposition party said. Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse decried Oxfam's handling of a prostitution scandal in Haiti, calling the situation a serious violation of human dignity. The British charity has come under sharp criticism for its handling of misconduct allegations against staff members accused of using prostitutes in Haiti following the devastating 2010 earthquake. Moïse wrote on Twitter late Monday that there is nothing more undignified and dishonest than a sexual predator who uses his position as part of the humanitarian response to a natural disaster to exploit needy people in moments of great vulnerability. Oxfam has denied covering up the scandal, which triggered the resignation of its deputy chief executive on Monday. Penny Lawrence said in a statement that as program director at the time, she was ashamed that it had happened under her watch and she took full responsibility. The allegations revolve around Roland van Houwermeren, who was Oxfam's country director for Haiti and was previously the head of the charity's mission in Chad. Oxfam investigated sexual misconduct allegations in 2011, and Van Houwermeren was one of 3 staff members who resigned, while 4 others were dismissed. From Haiti to Jamaica, where parish court judges in Jamaica fearing that their wage impasse with the government will drag on for another budget year, used a marathon meeting with their seniors yesterday to air their grouse over salaries and conditions of service, as well as discuss their concerns on separation of powers, judicial independence, and judicial accountability. The nearly 5-hour meeting, which caused significant disruptions at the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, and parish courts across Jamaica, was called mainly to discuss the continued refusal by Prime Minister Andrew Holness to permanently appoint Brian Sykes to the post of Chief Justice. But according to sources, parish court judges who have been waiting for a wage increase since October 2015 seized the opportunity to question the commitment of the government to resolve the issue. An independent commission established by the government conducted a review of the salaries of parish court judges and other members of the judiciary and submitted its report But the restive jurists complained yesterday that there has been no solid commitment to implement the recommendations. According to CMS, nearly 100 judges attended yesterday's meeting, which is described as a historical summit of the judicial arm of government. However, CMS noted that recent statements made by Holness regarding the appointment of Sykes to act as Chief Justice were among a range of issues that were discussed. Holness, in defending his decision to appoint Sykes to act as Chief Justice, saying he was from a different age with a different way of thinking, indicated that the permanent appointment of the respected jurist would be based on performance and results. But in a statement following the meeting, CMS said the judges had concerns about what appears to be another instance of interference by the legislative and executive branches of government in the area of the independence of the judiciary. In developments now internationally, at 14 minutes on 7, Israeli police say that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should be charged over alleged bribery cases. A police statement said there is enough evidence to indict Mr. Netanyahu for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in 2 separate cases. Here's more from the BBC.
The first case involves allegations that Benjamin Netanyahu gave special treatment to wealthy friends after receiving lavish gifts. The second, that he asked for favourable coverage from a major newspaper in exchange for curtailing the circulation of a free rival paper. Mr. Netanyahu has responded to the police recommendations by saying that the accusations against him are baseless and that he will continue to lead the country responsibly.
A U.S. spy chief has warned that presidential aides with interim security clearances should have limited access to secret information. U.S. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats said the clearance process was broken and needs to be reformed. He was responding to a question about former White House aide Rob Porter, an alleged wife-beater, and the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Mr. Kushner is only allowed interim security clearance like Mr. Porter. Mr. Coates was one of several spy masters who gave evidence today to the Senate Intelligence Committee about global threats facing the United States. Mr. Coates' testimony comes amid controversy over the interim security clearance granted to Mr. Porter, the former White House staff secretary, who was forced out last week after 2 ex-wives told U.S. media he was emotionally and physically abusive to them. In today's hearing, FBI Director Christopher Wray appeared to contradict the White House's account of when it knew about the allegations against the president's gatekeeper, which he denies. Mr. Wray said the Bureau notified the White House about problems in Mr. Porter's background check in March last year. That is months earlier than the White House said it received the information. Mr. Wray also said the FBI delivered the final results in January of its background information into Mr. Porter. But the White House said last week that Mr. Porter's background investigation was ongoing at the time he quit. South Africa's governing African National Congress has formally asked President Jacob Zuma to resign for the sake of the country. But despite the ANC's top leadership deciding to recall him urgently, the scandal hit Mr. Zuma was still in power on Tuesday. He's expected to respond to the request on Wednesday, an official said. He had already told them he was willing to stand down in the next 3 to 6 months, the official added. Mr. Zuma, who has been in power since 2009, has been dogged by corruption allegations. But he has so far resisted increasing pressure to quit since December, when his deputy Cyril Ramaphosa replaced him as leader of the African National Congress. Wednesday's cabinet meeting, usually chaired by Mr. Zuma, has been postponed because of developments taking place in the ruling party, a government statement said. Ace Magashule, the ANC Secretary General, told reporters the party's National Executive Committee decided the removal should be treated with urgency. The NEC has noted South Africa is going through a period of uncertainty and anxiety as a result of unresolved matter of transition. Mr. Magashule said the country needed to build on the renewed hope felt after the election of Mr. Ramaphosa as ANC leader. That's a look at regional and international developments this Tuesday evening at 10 minutes on the hour of 7 o'clock. The weather report comes up next.
Greater atmospheric stability will result in a reduction in rainfall activity over Antigua and Barbuda during the next 24 hours. Only a few shallow clouds are expected to be pushed over our islands by a moderate to fresh wind flow during the period. So we're looking for fair to partly cloudy skies tonight with a slight chance of a brief shower. Your overnight lows will dip as low as 22 Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, look for your sky conditions to be partly sunny in general with a slight
The report brings us to the end of Point FM's nightly news for Tuesday, 13th February 2018. Now, a recap of the headlines that made the news. Popular promoter and nightclub owner Cheryl Thompson, charged for human trafficking, is granted bail in the magistrate's court. Murder-accused Delano Forbes remained on the run more than 24 hours after he broke free from detectives. But a police source say the photo of him on social media is not after he escaped. The Grenadian Prime Minister says no calypso music during the campaign season, and Israeli police say that the Prime Minister should be charged over alleged bribery cases. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Point FM's Nightly News. On behalf of all of us here at Point FM Radio, I am Phil George, wishing you a pleasant evening. Goodbye.